kola nut is good. It's even good for your body.
Honor and respect, honor and respect, honor and respect. Divine all blessed greetings and salutations. It is another edition of Revolutionary Hoodoo, New Orleans Voodoo Secrets and Recipes. Voodoo Hoodoo 101, brought to you by, powered, produced, promoted, sponsored, and supported by NOIVD, New Orleans International Vodou Day. As we take this sacred step forward with full hearts and deep reverence, we are honored to share the next evolution of this sacred gathering. New Orleans National Vodou Day is now New Orleans International Vodou Day. And this shift in name reflects a truth we have always carried, that Vodou is both local and profoundly global. It is rooted in the rich soil of New Orleans and held in the hands of our community. Our work continues to center the vibrant traditions, practitioners, and spiritual leaders right here at home. And at the same time, we move forward with deep gratitude for the international ties that made Vodou in New Orleans possible. We walk in the footsteps of those who carried these sacred traditions across oceans, guided by the ancestors, and shaped by generations of resistance, resilience, and ritual. This change is not a departure, it is a deepening, a fuller reflection of who we are and who we are becoming. And we will continue to honor the local New Orleans voodoo community as the heart of this event while strengthening the sacred connections that stretch from Haiti to Benin and beyond. And I want to thank you for continuing to grow and participate with us and continue to invite your support, participation, volunteership, sponsorship, and donations by visiting us at www.voodooday.org. Again, www.v like Victor, O, D like David, O, U, D like David, AY.org for more information to find out how you may sponsor, join, and support us, and for coming updates about events and special occasions uniquely associated with this event. And always, we're grateful for your continued support and participation in our social media platforms, all of our various Facebook pages, profiles, groups, etc., our Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter X platforms, and anywhere you might choose to pop the URL. You can also join us by following the QR code at the upper right top of your screen. And we're always appreciative of those who do show up and participate with us live in the chat. Greetings, my beloved Nina Lloyd. Thank you for continuing to show and support. The Goddess 9305. Peace and blessings to you and yours. Britt Bragg, greetings and salutations. We certainly appreciate you being in the house. And we will be unmuting the Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez, momentarily. Queen Mother, community activist, our beloved Elder Reggie Greensoap, leader and founder of Shrine of the White Cloth, committed co-administrator of NOIVD, New Orleans International Vodou Day, our beloved brother Joshua Nyland Tanner, first priest, armor bearer, Black Hawk Voodoo Wild Man, also committed co-administrator of NOIVD, a initiated member of my house, as well as the source, and our beloved Queen Mother Sister Bianca Johnson Plessy, an initiated member of the source and committed active co-administrator of NOIVD. We certainly appreciate your continued support, participation, and sacrifice that you all make from your homes and your time and your schedule to be with us Monday through Friday at 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time on a platform out there near you or by way of that QR code at the upper right corner of your screen. Greetings and salutations to you and yours, our beloved Daniel Neal. Thank you so much for joining us. We just came out of our weekly Creole class and Haitian Vodou choir rehearsal. So we can imagine that our beloved Neg Mawan Ogon and master artist musician may very well be with us momentarily. He had to carry the beloved Mambo, Mambo home. So we appreciate Mommy Moon and Neg Marwan, two great, historic, legendary Vodou practitioners who live and participate and operate with us in our shared temple here in New Orleans, Louisiana. And we always invite you all to come out and join us on our weekly ceremonies, Saturday nights at La Source in the Alley, and our Creole class, as well as our Haitian Vodou song rehearsals on Monday night. And something that sort of comes up from time to time, and as my grandmama used to say, might get stuck in your craw every now and again. And the subject matter and topic for tonight: tradition versus progress. And I put quotations mark around versus. Is it versus? Does it have to be about versus? Is it tradition versus process, or is progress, or is there a word that could be used there? As we open a conversation about the conflict between those who want to do things the way, we've always done them, and those who want to grow and transform and evolve like a plant, like the natural process of evolution. Those who want to do it our way, and those who feel there is a certain standard that must be met. Is there a reflection of a broader polarity between conservatives who want to hold on to old forms and progressives who seek change? The old age conflict between traditionalists and Gnosticists. We might even now want to throw in the third party, the internet, the social media, the Google Bing search AI masters who believe they can learn, study, and grow in this tradition, at the click of a button. And clearly, there are subtleties involved in our case because we're dealing with differing versions of what is, in fact, tradition and how this is addressed now with New Orleans International Vodou Day. Here in a simple but brief podcast, we want to talk about Voodoo Hoodoo and the living traditions of New Orleans. And we're not talking about museum pieces. We are talking about practices that breathe, that move, that adapt, that remember. And because they are alive, they carry with them the same tension that lives inside every community, every family, every nation, every spiritual lineage. The pull between what has been done and what must evolve. This tension is not new. It's not unique to us. It's not unique to House of the Divine Prince or to Shrine of the White Cloth or to Le Source, Ancien Amphore, or to NOIVD. But in our case, it is uniquely complicated. I like to say voodoo worldwide because we say tradition, we are not all pointing in the same direction. Some are pointing to West African voodoo, some are pointing to Haitian voodoo, some are pointing to Louisiana voodoo. Others are pointing to hoodoo folk practice. Some are pointing to family lineage. And others are pointing to what they learned from elders who were doing the very best they could with what they had. And some are pointing to what they learned from the streets, from the culture, and from the city itself. So when we say we've always done it this way, the real question becomes which we, which always, which way? And this is where the conflict begins. Because in the same room, in the same community, in the same shared sacred spaces, the same ceremony, you may have someone who is trying to preserve a 400-year-old West African protocol, and someone else who's trying to preserve what their grandmother did in the 1940s, and someone else who's trying to preserve what they saw in New Orleans in the 1990s, and someone else who's trying to preserve what they learned from a Haitian priest in Miami last year by way of social media. And all of them believe they are practicing tradition. And this is why the conversation becomes so charged because everyone thinks they are defending the ancestors. Everyone thinks they're honoring the past. Everyone thinks they're doing it the right way. But here is the truth, and we don't always say it out loud. Tradition is not a single object, it is a river, and every river has many tributaries. Now, on the other side of this tension, we have the people who say, we need to grow, we need to evolve, we need to meet a certain standard, we need to be recognized on the world stage, voodoo worldwide, i.e., Haitian Vodou meeting Louisiana Vodou meeting Ouida Benin Vodou in the sacred circle, the sacred space created in Congo Square during the weekend of NOIVD. And we need to be taken seriously. And they are not wrong. Because when you step into international diplomacy, when you stand next to delegations from Benin, Haiti, Brazil, Cuba, and the diaspora, you cannot show up with chaos. You cannot show up with everybody doing what they want to do. You cannot show up with, my cousin taught me this in the backyard. There must be structure, there must be clarity, and there must be respect for the global community we are entering. And this is exactly where NOIVD stands at the crossroads between honoring the many versions of our tradition and rising to meet the international standard that our ancestors deserve. Now, some people hear this and say, well, that sounds like old conflict between conservatives and progressives. And yes, on the surface, it does echo that polarity, those who want to hold on to and those who want to push forward. Some even compare it to the ancient tension between the traditionalists and the Gnostics, those who guard the outer forms and those who seek the inner mysteries. But our situation is more subtle than that, because in our case, the traditionalists are not all pointing to the same tradition, and the progressives are not all seeking the same kind of change. We are not dealing with a single lineage. We are dealing with a constellation of lineages. Just as my DNA results reflect a constellation of no less than 16 distinct ethnic groups on the mother continent. We are dealing with a diaspora that was scattered, fragmented, reinvented, and reconnected across centuries, across landmass. And we are dealing with a city, New Orleans, that is itself a crossroads, a blending, a remix of survival stories. So the question is not, should we preserve tradition or should we evolve? The real question is, how do we honor the many traditions that shaped us while building a unified, dignified, internationally respected future? And that is where New Orleans International Vodou Day comes in. NOIVD is not here to erase anyone's lineage. NOIVD is not here to flatten the differences. NOIVD is here to declare, it's not here to declare one virgin right and another wrong. NOIVD is here to create a standard of respect, a standard of conduct, a standard of presentation, so that when New Orleans stands on the world stage, when we stand next to Benin, the birthplace of Voodoo, we stand with dignity, clarity, and unity. We're not choosing between tradition and transformation. We are choosing how to hold both without losing ourselves. We are choosing to grow without disrespecting the elders. We're choosing to evolve without abandoning the roots. We are choosing to honor the many tributaries while strengthening the river. And that is the work. That is our challenge. This is our opportunity, people. This is the calling of this moment, because the world is watching, the ancestors are watching, and the future generations are watching and are stepping into our footsteps, the ones who will inherit what we build. And they are watching too. So as my beloved co-hosts begin to unmute, I was prayerful that Ogan Nag Babwan will make it to give it his unique Haitian demonstration. But certainly we have Elder Reggie and Brother Joshua and Sister Bianca, and I believe Queen Mother, Sister Tony. So the questions become, how do we move forward together? How do we honor the past without becoming trapped in it? And certainly we invite your questions, comments in the chat on all platforms. And my last question before I pass the mic, how do we embrace the future without losing our soul? This is the conversation that we are opening today. Greetings and salutations, Sister Bianca Johnson Plessy, Brother Joshua Nadantana, our beloved Elder Reggie Green Soap, and our beloved Queen Mother, Sister Tony Val Martinez. What say you, Queen Mother?
Boy, that's a good. First off, hello everyone. Good night,
Yes,
panel.
good night.
Those in the listening audience. That's a very hard question to me, because we have so many traditions here in New Orleans. I mean, when you were speaking, it just reminded me of the challenges that happens to all religions, way of life, like Judaism and stuff like that, and how you got those that fight to keep everything traditional and those that say we need to move on and catch up with the world and catch up with the rest of the people. And generally, history has told us they just spring off like Christianity, that they don't take one guideline. I mean, that's hard. That's very hard. And then here, a lot of people don't even understand the difference in what they doing. They got so many people that think root work and hoodoo is actual voodoo. They don't know the difference in it. And everybody want to hang on to what they want to hang on to. You know, we are stubborn people. So that's a challenge. And the way I see it is, first, everybody, they have to get together and have the discussion and come together on what you have in common and not what you don't have in common. Start with the commonalities of what each one has and go from there.
Mm-hmm.
What say you, Elder Reggie?
Blessings, everyone. Good night to the collective audience in the chat and my esteemed panel. Thank you, Sister Tony, for the mic. Well, I kind of see it this way, with the internet being the fulcrum of people trying to learn. If you're coming from ground zero and you're trying to learn, there's more information being written on the Yoruba system, which is akin to the system out of Benin. So as people buy books, people read, people right now could go listen to podcasts. And so there's more information coming out of the system there. So you'll find a lot of people gravitate into that because in the West, the way our minds work, we want to read, we want to study. We have a million answers, million questions need answered. And so a lot of the answers are being filled in by the West African systems. Not saying that that system is complete within itself, but it is a system that's answering some of the questions. Myself in particular, I just don't know much on the Haitian voodoo system because when you Google it and you go out there, there just was not a lot of information. Plus, there's a language barrier with French and Creole. And that seemed to be sort of an issue somewhat. But then when you come to New Orleans has went dead. Since the 1881, when Marie Laveau died, there was offshoots of people trying to maintain it. But with the presence of the police department, the clergy, and people seeing the negativity of it, it went underground, then it branched and morphed into other things until it was a dead system. And so it's trying to resurrect itself back. But as Divine Prince acts so eloquent tonight, how do we do it? Who do we morph with? Do we morph with West Africa? Do we morph with Haiti? Do we morph with Brazil? Where do we go to continue to learn and not just be hoodoo, root work, and what I learned from my grandmother in the backyard? So we have avenues that we can walk today. Choose one and walk that walk. That's what I have to have. What you say, Sister Bianca?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. And I feel like this is a good topic to have for tonight's show because there are some things that I do have some questions about just like seeing the shift in the changes, like you say, from the old tradition ways into the modern where we are now. And some of the questions and stuff that I do have is that I have noticed that before, during slavery time, they was using Catholic saints, as a synchronizing the lowest with Catholic saints. And they was using it due to, for survival because it was like not by choice, but it was like through survival skill because they didn't want to get caught. So of course they had many other reasons why they did synchronize using Catholic saints with the lowest. So like when you see altars and stuff, you still see the Yorubas and the different Loas and stuff, but then they also have the Catholic saints there, the crosses, the rosaries, different saint imageries and stuff. But now I'm starting to see and notice that like many practitioners are removing a lot of those Catholic imageries in them saints, and they're like, starting to reclaim the African names, the symbols, and their appearance in the looks of what the Loas are, what they look like, and more information in their symbols. Almost kind of seeming like they are starting to kind of reject some of the Christianity and some of the Catholic saints with the synchronization. So my question is, do you guys think that removing some of them Catholic elements, is it like still part of voodoo history in the tradition, or do you feel like it's erasing it um in today's time, like modern time?
I really think we should allow Ogon Neg Mawan, who's joined us, to answer and respond to that. Beloved, how do we honor the past without becoming trapped in it? And how do we embrace the future without losing our soul?
I think that like how we can honor it is like, even though that there are still some old ways and like old traditions, and there are still the modern, I still feel like we still should respect both of them. And I do notice that when we do our ceremonies and the event that's coming up in May, that there is still a variety of awe. So there is still modern and there are still the old tradition, and it is still showing that we are still keeping both of them alive, that everybody could be able to learn the old and the new, and we all still being able to practice and learn from the elders and from modern to be able to bring it together, to show respect on both ends, and also to be able to learn on both, so that we can both be able to grow together.
Neg Mawan, are you with us? You can unmute and come on into the conversation. Rudolph Pierre? Okay, he may be experiencing some kind of technical difficulty. I do think we can also, Elder Reggie, find a way to honor and embrace each of those practices and traditions to some degree, respectfully. I'm doing so because again, when I do my ancestral work in divination, I'm often looking at and responding to a diversity of ethnic groups and demonstrations that indeed stand up in my practice and in my tradition, but certainly have amalgamated into many of the traditions that we practice in terms of voodoo worldwide. Even within the Haitian Vodou practice specifically, there are demonstrations that recognize the degree of ethnic groups that made the transatlantic slave trade and show up as footprints in the practice, in the tradition. And when we look at West African Vodou, particularly in places like Togo, for instance, we're now even seeing a synchronization and an amalgamation with Hindu symbolism and iconology. You see Hindu gods and deities with, sometimes multiple arms or legs now being painted right alongside the Vodun and Vodou spirits that we are commonly used to seeing, at least in archaeology and in museums and in textbooks, of the outer paintings of these sacred spaces. So there's always been a amalgamation and evolution, if you will. I often say that voodoo is nature, and there is no voodoo, there is no Ifa, Santeria, Lukomi, Kandable without nature. And so, even in nature, there's the planting of a seed or a plant dropping its seed, propagating seed. Uh, what do you call fertilizing the seed, pollinating the seed, and then growing that plant continuing the life and the generations of that plant. But even if you move a plant from one location to another, or a storm comes through and pick up seeds, or birds come through and eat various plants, fruits, flowers, and then drop and replant those seeds in a different location, there are going to be variations, changes in the genetic makeup of the plant, in the DNA structure of the plant. The same, sweet basil won't necessarily be the exact replica from yard to yard, even if originally seeded, from a cutting from my garden. Eventually, it will adapt to your garden, your environment, your treatment, your nourishment of the plant. So when we see Vodou make the Middle Passage, make the transatlantic slave trade, and like a bird, drop seeds in South America, Brazil, Venezuela, um, Argentina, Central America, the West Indies, certainly Haiti. Haiti had the opportunity and the environment to develop organized structure around their Vodou demonstration. And that continues to evolve, that continues to grow. And so part of the conflict behind this conversation is the older members of our community, and particularly the Source community, who have learned and inherited sort of the DNA, the ancestral inheritance of Edgar Luis, who initiated our Sagwe and certainly makes us the grandchildren, if you will, of Edgar. But we've now have this great Mambo Mami Muna, who's accepted in both Haiti and West Africa, Benin. Our beloved Mambo, help me out, Joshua. What's the other Mambo's name? Who'll be leading the ceremony?
Mama Zila.
Yeah, Mama Zila, from Martinique, but who's also Haitian initiated and West African initiated. Elder Reggie, who's been initiated in West Africa. I believe he has some Ghanaian traditions under his belt. And I, as a Pan-African practitioner and spiritualist, have been initiated in more than one practice and a tradition officially. So we've created a space and are continuing to evolve a space where we acknowledge and show honor and show reference to a diversity of bloodlines and paths that stand up and often seek to be acknowledged in the very DNA, ancestral memory encoded within all of our blood. And let's not, be ignorant or silent on it. I'm also 17% West African European. So we know there's some witchy rune-like shenanigans mixed up in there. I'm also, a bit I think it's 0.8% indigenous to Mexico specifically. And I have some Southeastern Asian DNA in the mix and some Northern African DNA in the mix. And so we often like food, like flavors, like taste. Those spirits will stand up. Even in my teens, before I really began to understand what was going on with me and the phenomenon that I was experiencing. Seasonally, maybe once or twice every 90 days or so, I'd wake up, usually on a Saturday morning, and all I could tolerate was Sufi music and Arabic music. And I acquired certain, Egyptian artifacts and Middle Eastern artifacts, over the years, certainly before, DNA became accessible, before I became aware of sort of these crossroads of lineages that stand up just in me uniquely. And I believe those of us here in the West who are also exposed to Eurocentric practices and traditions, New Age shops, crystal, gems, minerals, certainly crystals, gems, minerals, which are foundational in my house, in my practice, help to open up frequencies, channels, communications, vibrations that extend beyond, traditional organized systems and practices. And we now are at the crossroads of the dawning of the age of Aquarius, as we used to sing, in the 1970s, where we are forging new pathways, just like we forge new pathways as we continue to live, in consciousness through reading, through writing, through imagination, through expression, in order to prevent, Alzheimer's and senility and mental health, breakdowns. So we must exercise our spiritual bodies, our spiritual consciousness, in order for these systems, these practices to stay alive. So I don't necessarily think it has to be a tradition versus progress. My teaching, my instruction is based on tradition first, as Elder Reggie expressed, often through Yoruba, because Yoruba is the most prolific. They are the wealthiest and most, what's the word I'm looking for? Most present in the diaspora, if you will. And they speak English. So they've made the Yoruba much easier to access than Fan or Ewe or even Haitian Creole. You cannot easily put even Haitian Creole into Bing or Google Translate and get appropriate comparable translations. So I often will speak and teach and demonstrate in Fan and in Ewe, but will reinforce what I do, what I say, whether it's a reading, whether it's a practice with the Yoruba, to make it easier for the client, the godchild, the initiate to fact check.
We have so many traditions in Louisiana, not just New Orleans, different traditions. To me, listening to you talk, we need a whole college course to start from the beginning with everybody coming in with whatever there is that they do is represented in that course and show how it came to be like that. From Africa, through the slave trade, through slavery, through the different islands and how it got like that and why. I mean, that would be wonderful. You need books and blackboards and copy paper and
But we
because
have that
it's
now.
complex.
But we
It's
have that
complex.
now virtually, if we would appropriately use the tools, and if the seekers, the students, would just adhere to some simple protocols. Ray Alexander, the idea is not to consolidate the practices. The idea is not to, draw many lineages into a uniform system. And I don't know what ADTP or ADR is. I'm most familiar with ATR. It's been ATR since the 1960s, Aboriginal African traditional religious systems. We're not seeking uniformity. We're seeking to show honor and respect to each lineage and each practice as it is, because you must do that in order to understand what's similar about the various practices, in order for you to understand where the crossroad is, where the meeting place is. For example, we know that libation is a crossroad. Libation is universal, beyond African based traditional systems. World indigenous Aboriginal systems worldwide incorporate the use of water and libation. Now, how that is addressed is unique to lineage, just like how a good pot of gumbo is addressed according to lineage. So, another word for lineage might be uh, region, might be family, might be household. All these things go in to make lineage. For example, Yoruba is an ethnic group, a culture, a language, a tradition, and one might say a lineage. However, how Ifa is addressed in Oyo village is not the same thing as in Ogun village. It's not a carbon copy of Oshun village or Oyotunji village here in the Carolinas, or in Condable in Brazil, or in Lucumi in Puerto Rico, or Santeria, in Cuba and Puerto Rico. They're all Yoruba, and they are all branches off the root of Yoruba. Seven African powers is off the branch of Yoruba. Us African Americans, Black Americans chanting Oshun, Yemaya, Legba, or Eshu, Ilegwa, we are chanting off the Yoruba branch. But the lineage is specific to region, location, the family, and the participants involved. So it's not a carbon copy between what's done in Puerto Rico, for example, and Brazil, or Brazil in Louisiana. And the idea, again, is not to consolidate for NOIVD, but certainly there must be a uniformity of practice in terms of demonstration, in terms of performance for that day. And so we amalgamate what is universal to the various branches using the traditions of West African, Haitian, and Louisiana Voodoo for that demonstration. And before I pass the mic, we beg of you, we invite you to come out on Saturday nights to La Source on for Ancien for our weekly ceremonies and see what's being done. Come out on Monday nights and learn Haitian Creole and learn the songs that are being sung and the words that are being spoken. Certainly, there are layers to this. I often say it's like an onion, and the solid part is at the center, and then I teach the basics, the foundation, and then you learn each new layer on top of that foundation. And so Haitian voodoo, West African voodoo, and quite frankly, hoodoo, root work, conjure is really no different. I could easily give a simple recipe. How that gumbo tastes and show up on various tables is going to be varied and diverse. Is there a proper and appropriate way to prepare that gumbo? Absolutely. Is there a jacked up way to mess up that gumbo? That's going to cause
Absolutely.
Tony to feel some
No
kind of way.
eggs in the gumbo.
Yeah.
Please, can I have a word, please?
Please.
Yeah.
Yes. That's what we are saying right now is not fair to the ATRs. I was initiated in 1998. I don't know how many years ago that was, but that was a secret society. There was rights, there was protocol, there was things that I was taught in secret that I don't share with nobody. So let's say if I'm using the analogy of making gumbo, what they taught me there, I could come and do a surface gumbo, but some of the ingredients I am not going to put in that gumbo because it's sacred between me and the spirits. There are spirits that's showing up, that's doing work, that's doing healing and making things happen. Myself in particular, I was initiated into Awo Ogun. I was not initiated into Ifa. So you'll never see me throwing the Opele or doing Ifa divinations with the Odus. Because I was initiated into Ogun, I could use the 16 cowries, which is called OB. I can do that, but I choose not to do that. But what I am trying to say, even going to Benin, next week, I'm going back to West Africa. There's societies, there's cult that you're welcome into. There's washing, there's prayers, there's sacrifice, there's deities that mount you. So you can understand when this deity is there. And if we're going to be working with these energies, we can't always cross-pollinate. that could become dangerous. People can become crazy. People can even meet their death when you're doing that. You have to respect each system protocol. And it is only right. They do it in Africa. I'm pretty sure they do it in Haiti. They do it in Brazil. We have to respect the protocol. We just can't cross-pollinate. That's what I want to add, to share.
I agree. And that goes back to me saying, like with Christianity, started off, we got a lot of people that claim to be Christians, but they all not the same kind of Christians. We got a lot of people that claim to be Jews, but they're not the same Jews. You got Orthodox Jews. You got the Jews that you wouldn't even know are Jews because they don't keep nothing really but the holidays. So I mean, this is a serious conversation that people have been having for years, dealing with other things that would be called a way of life religion, like Judaism is. I say that more than Christianity. They have the strict sects and they do it different, but they all call themselves, they all stem from that same thing. And that's the way I see that this is going with the voodoo and all different branches, but that we all come together with a respect for each other. I mean, I totally understand.
I want to quickly interject that a part of this conversation too that the audience might not be aware of is we inherited a certain way of doing ceremony from Edgar Louise, but that also incorporated certain prayers and ritual applications that were Catholic, that invoked, Catholic saints, and so that has been removed over time. That is part of the structure that's being evolved out of the practice, that some members might be having an issue with. But the practitioners of today, to include Mami Zila, Mami Muna, and certainly Papa Fanfan, may he rest in Guinan, may he rest in peace. They all sought to sort of move away from sort of that Catholic Christian demonstration. In my house, Brother Joshua and I, have sought aggressively to move away from and redo and renew that any Catholic Christian Eurocentric footprint, if you will, from sort of our practice and our demonstration, while always understanding sort of the language, the coded language in association with these images. But the newer generations are just not having it. The younger folks are just not accepting it. And they want to know why. Why are we invoking Jesus Christ? Why are we invoking, Mother Mary? Why are we still holding on to St. Jude, and
St.
other?
Joseph, St. Michael.
Yes.
And that's where they need to be taught.
Go ahead.
That's where they need to be taught where it came from to answer their question. And then they'll see why it would be necessary for them to move on and why some people tend to hold on to them. They know we use them, but a lot of people don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Or even what information might be hidden behind the symbolism.
Yes. So that's where I say it's like a college course where people need to be taught the beginning, not to change what they do or to make them changing, but to at least know, like a family tree, to at least know where it started and where it branched off and became. They don't know that. They see it as something, really, to me, they want it gone because they don't understand why it's there or why it ever was there. Mm-hmm. And that's what they need to learn so they can have an aha moment. And then they can sit down and say, well, we don't need to do that this day and age. So we can actually move on and put the images of the Loas on the altar as themselves now.
AYIBOBO. And Brother Joshua warned me that this wasn't going to be enough time to cover this topic.
No,
It's
it's
too
not.
deep. And for some reason, we've been unable to get Neg Mawan's mic open. So he may be still in transit or he might be having some technical difficulty. So we
Sorry, no,
will
it's okay.
continue this conversation. Oh, there he is. Come on in, Papa. You have a few minutes and then we'll continue tomorrow.
Yeah, actually, AYIBOBO, I like to say AYIBOBO to all of you. Nibo Nibo.
AYIBOBO.
Wasimbo, and I've been listening, and it was very, very educating to, talk about all that. And I've been working on that for 20 years. And nowadays, I think there's a big change, especially in Haiti. Now people don't use those Catholic images anymore, especially the youngsters. I think they're really educated about that as far as where this has come from. And I started with been doing some work with some elders as far as removing all those prayer from Catholic that has nothing to do with Voodoo, and we start with the original what we call prayer jaw. And so my house hasn't been using no sense so I use Veve from all my things. And especially there's a business, people be buying cents, and the Voodoo's not getting anything from that. You understand? Because the thing people don't understand, once you bought something, you manifest energy, you create what we call an egregore. And by name the spirit behind that, there's a power that forms into it. This is why some people there's some connection somehow. But I think we need to validate, or because at the Laku or Loa are represented by big tree. They have a different tree for different things. When we refer to Lisa Papadisa, it's a big Piemapu, and there's a bois for Cousin Zaka. They always refer to avocado tree, different things where I mean, it's the house of the Lord. So it's. I think when there's one sister that she came and said we need to educate people to understand. During slavery, our brothers and sisters used to use it as a camouflage. They have the veve on the bottom, and they have the image of Saint, because the Cordua forced them to convert it to Christian. Just to be Christians, and they were forced. They were practicing the tradition at night. So now it's it's an era of truth, and we need to stop venerate all those people. Some of them were killers. When we say we were at France, they try to associate each Loire with with the saints, like an Asian Voodoo. They refer to Saint Patrick as Dambala, and Dambala has been there for years, way before life. Understand? We have some like Ogu, why Ogu been there? The saints or people that used to leave been canonized by churches, by the same people that oppress us. And you try to refer to saint as a Loa. The Loa is not even human. It's a different it's a different dimensions of being, which is not never been human for whatsoever. So I think it's good to work on that, and this has been working, especially in the young community right now. They're really embracing the culture without the sense. But those old folks are hard-headed. They still hold on to it because they've been doing it for years. You understand? And they've been trying to incorporate after, because you need to understand the history, as I said recently, where there were forced people to, they would go in Haiti, burn those places, burn those temples, kill Ogans and Mambo. As a movement called Rejeté. The Voodoo itself has been victimized over 14 times. They've been trying to destroy this whole thing, but Haiti's a Voodoo country, always survive. We got this. And I think I'm very pleased, and that was a great show.
Well, we certainly appreciate your continued contributions and mastery of your culture, practice, and tradition, and your offering that and bringing that to us. And again, we invite you all to come out and participate in our Creole class and choir rehearsals on Monday nights at the Healing Center, as well as Saturday nights in the alley at our temple space, the source, for our weekly ceremonies. And you have an opportunity to witness and participate with us up close and in person. And we're certainly thankful and appreciative of those who continue to join us by way of social media on all of our various pages, groups, by way of Facebook, as well as our international listenership in Instagram and LinkedIn, as well as Twitter X. We certainly appreciate you. And we look forward to your continued support and joining us here at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, weeknights, Monday through Friday, on a platform near you or by way of the QR code in the upper right corner of your screen. And certainly, we're always thankful and appreciative of those in the Instagram who come out and show up and participate. King, the husband material, we certainly appreciate you. Nikki Noise, thank you so much for coming through. Empress Niamore, we certainly appreciate you. Queen Bee 655, thank you for coming through. Airly Mint Bender, I hope I said that correctly. Airly Mint Bender, thank you for coming through. Uh, King D husband material, please send me an email by way of my website, and I'll be more than happy to assist you on your journey. The Divine Prince, the easiest email is the Divine Prince, TheDivinePrince at gmail.com. Padelia, thank you so much for joining us again and coming through. The Middle Path 8, greetings and salutations. Pablo Art Malik, we certainly appreciate your continued support and participation. Rima Jeev, I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for coming through. All Aura Counseling, we certainly appreciate you. Cheyenne the Empress, thank you for coming through. Leroy 74, thank you for coming through. Anna Licious, I hope I said that correctly. Thank you for coming through. Anthony Young, thank you for coming through. Cultivating Kivia. Apostle Hudson One, absolutely true. And thank you so much for continuing to join us. Lori Vote Rosanine, thank you for joining us. Ms. Fat Dimples, we certainly appreciate you. Again, Cultivating Kiva, you can join us at La Source Ancien on 4 Peristyle at 3319 Rosalie Alley, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70117. On Saturday nights at 6:30 p.m. and on Mondays at 2372 St. Claude Avenue, New Orleans, Louisiana, 70117 at 6 p.m. Picublica 18, thank you so much for joining us. Lynn's Crafter, thank you all for joining us. And Megalodon, thank you for joining us. Again, we certainly appreciate your support, your participation, your donations. We certainly are grateful, as well as your joining us Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. U.S. Central Standard Time by way of our QR code at the top or right corner of your screen, or by way of a social media platform near you. I will now turn it over to our beloved Elder Reggie, faithful, committed, active co-administrator of NOIVD and founder and leader of Shrine of the White Cloth, to close us out and to read our announcements. Elder Reggie, are you there? Well, it's carnival time, y'all. It is indeed carnival time. The parades are rolling. And Fat Tuesday correction is not the 16th. It's Lunday Gras is the 16th. Fat Tuesday or Mardi Gras is February 17th, also again known as Mardi Gras Day. Elder Reggie. We also have a large selection and variety of Santa Muerte statuary available at the Isle of Salvation Botanica, the Island of Salvation Botanica at 2372 St. Claude Avenue, again at Suite 100, right on the first floor, right off to the right there if you come in through the front. And it's also where we have Creole class and choir rehearsals on Monday night.
Yeah, new moon ritual prayer and application ceremony will occur on new moon Sunday, March 18th in the zodiac of Pisces at 6:30 p.m. That location is 710 Cluid Street. What we do is a ritual spiritual warfare gathering and a ritual for this community. Please come out if you're in the local area. Lest we forget. But before I read Lest We Forget, I want to give thanks again for Divine Prince holding such. It's a tense, but it was a topic that's needed because a lot of people ask questions and they need answers. And I think this was a beautiful topic tonight. Lest we forget, the spiritual medicine of voodoo brings healing and relief from the shackles of slavery that binds the master and the slave to the same chain of social division. We continue to have work to do. We have to continue to grow. With that, I say ashe, ashe, ashe. Good night, everyone. We love you all, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Good night,
Good night,
everyone.
everyone.
Good night in Odabo.
State of Louisiana versus Catherine Balthazar. In this case, it is ordered, judged, and decreed that the said Catherine Balthazar be declared insane and that she be incarcerated in the State Insane Asylum at Jackson, Louisiana.
Any family stories about this?
No,
Yeah.
none at all. That's wild.
In 1898, Catherine was committed to the East Louisiana State Hospital, segregated state-run mental hospital located in Jackson, Louisiana. And you can see photos of it from the early 1900s on your left.
Wow.
What's it like to see that?
I mean, that makes me very upset that somebody in my family had to go through this, and the family members had to go through this too, seeing her in there or not seeing her in there. I don't know if they, was able to even visit her. State of Louisiana versus Catherine Balthazar.
Please, allow me to show you something.
They say I'm crazy and that might be true. I got this white in my DNA, yeah, I'm coming for you. It's time we turn the tables, flip these motherfuckers on you. I wanna see you hanging from trees, it's time you pay for your dirt and your shit. You created the monster, you created the beast. Now all this savagery you just gon' reap. I'm coming home, daddy, to the plantation. And and I'm taking the lives of everybody, including the children, on some Nat Turner. Oh, do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. I met my girl Harriet at the gate. If you wanna know how she doing, yeah, she's straight. But she had one question: when we gon' get up? All that talking tough, yeah, we don't walk it tough. She got it locked and loaded, got that piece up on her side. She looked me in my eyes and said, "Meet you ready to ride?" Moving forward, you gotta use both eyes. Watch your front and watch your back. Keep your hands up on your gas. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. He sit at the table, but he don't order no bacon. He greet me in those words, assalamu alaikum. Got them glasses on his face and them waves in his head. He go by the name of Detroit Red. He looks me in my eye and says, "You only get one try. Know that your biggest opposition will come from the inside. I know you wanna love them all, but don't even try, because they'll smile up in your face while plotting your demise." Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down. Do you hear that sound? It's about to go down. Unleash the beast, we about to tear this motherfucker down.